There's nothing quite like a relaxing road trip, but not all journeys consist of endless repetitive highway. There are wild roads all over the world that'll give you an adrenaline rush with just one look. I've scoured the web to find the most exhilarating, awe-inspiring, and downright amazing roads that you can actually take a trip down. So buckle up, because we're about to set off on an adventure across some of the craziest roads in the world. Highway. If you look up the definition of scenic in the dictionary, there's a good chance you'll see a picture of Norway's Highway. Also known as the Atlantic Ocean Road, this 5.2-mile stretch of road winds over the Avaroi Islands, all thanks to the incredibly creative use of bridges. Linking the islands together like a chain, the bridges arch and twist with the scenery, following the coastline of the majestic Norwegian Sea. But while it may look like a dream to drive along in good weather, when a storm whips up, it quickly becomes a nightmare. Waves roll over the road and smash against the islands with terrifying force, threatening to drag cars right off the road. But whether the ocean is calm or cascading over the tarmac, you can bet that driving along the Atlantic Road will get your heart racing. Before you fly off to Norway in search of an adrenaline rush, I can offer you an endless amount of thrills right here. All you need to do is hit those like and subscribe buttons, and you'll be the first to know about the newest, most amazing videos I upload every day. Has that got you all revved up? Great. Then let's step on the gas and hit the next crazy road. The Stelvio Pass. Italy is known for its many great works of art, but none of them are quite as breathtaking as the country's road through the Stelvio Pass. A stone's throw from the steep Swiss border, the 48 hairpin turns of this road allow it to soar over 9,000 feet above sea level, all in just 29 miles.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
At these cloud-scraping heights, it's one of the highest driving roads in the world, which allows for the most incredible views. Look, it's so high you could even see the vast lengths of it twisting along the mountain pass. While there's no question that it's one of the most stunning roads in the world, you can't help but wonder what the best way to experience each twist and turn must be. Would it be by car? Maybe on a motorbike? I thought it might be on a bicycle, but just the thought of pedaling up those huge heights already has me sweating. Let me know what you think the best way to travel this rolling road would be down in the comments. The Coley Hills. If you thought 48 hairpin bends was a lot, just wait till you see what's up ahead. With an unfathomable 70 hairpin turns, the incredibly steep twists of Coley Hills Road in Tamil Nadu, India has, understandably, earned the nickname of the Mountain of Death. Surrounded by a dense tropical forest, the roads look deceptively like an emerald green paradise, particularly for petrolheads. But portions of the 29-mile road aren't well maintained or even paved, and it gets so narrow that there's barely enough space for two vehicles to make the same turn. So as exhilarating as it may be to race down these death-defying turns, remember, you're just one pothole away from flying over the edge. The TransSaharan Highway. Like something plucked out of a Mad Max film, this almost 2,800-mile road running through North Africa is a stretch of pure wasteland adventure. Known as the TransSaharan Highway, this humbly paved freeway curves and carves through the heart of the Sahara Desert, connecting three North African countries, Nigeria, Niger, and Algiers. But while this landscape might look like the perfect place to live out your post-apocalyptic car crusading fantasy, it's a lot more dangerous than it seems. You see, only 85% of the Mammoth Motorway is paved, meaning miles of your journey rely on tracks left in the sand and the occasional ramshackle road marker. And like that wasn't bad enough, sand drifts often sweep across the highway, burying vast portions of it from sight. So if you get lost or run out of fuel, your wasteland whimsy might just become a stark reality. But at least the weather will be nice.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. Standing on the shore of New Orleans' Lake Pontchartrain, you might look out over the water and think you're witnessing an optical illusion, because the bridge that extends over the massive stretch of water simply doesn't seem to end. Well, I can assure you it does. It's just very, very, very long. close to 24 miles long in fact, making it the second longest overwater road bridge in the world. Perched 15 feet above the water on a series of 9,500 concrete pillars, this bridge connects both sides of the massive lake, which measures in at a whopping 630 miles squared. This means if you ever find yourself traveling across this colossal causeway, you'll reach the halfway point and discover that you're so far out, you can't see the land on either side. Though it looks like it'd be a watery dream to drive across, I bet it's an absolute nightmare to break down on. Paso San Boldo. There's something about the look of roads carved into vast mountain tunnels that sparks a sense of adventure deep inside you. And just taking a peek at the incredible Paso San Boldo turns that spark into a full-blown bonfire. Winding through the rock face just over 2,300 feet above sea level, this combination of 8 tunnels and 6 hairpin turns is a masterpiece of exhilarating engineering. It connects the Italian towns of Tricciana to Tovina, which are separated by a sharp elevation of just over 1,400 feet. To connect the two, tunnels were blasted into the mountainous rock face to turn an otherwise treacherous trek into a gentle climb. That may sound like a lot of work, but the road was completed in record time back in 1945, leading to its nickname, the Road of 100 Days. But despite all the amazing history and engineering behind it, I can't help but think it looks more like a miniature golf course than a real-life road. Either way, I bet it's seriously fun to take a drive on. Japan's Snow Corridor. Despite being open for only a few months of the year, Japan's Tateyama Snow Corridor is one of the most mind-blowing roads in the world. The freezing asphalt is flanked with colossal snow-packed walls that reach almost 60 feet high. Carving a route across the peak of Mount Tate, these mind-blowing barriers of snow block out everything except the mountaintops and the sky. But this jaw-dropping corridor doesn't just appear overnight. Every year, a dedicated team of snowplow operators work together using rotary snowblowers to clear the path. These behemoth machines can spray the snow nearly 50 feet high and half a football field to the side, clearing a path for visitors to the area. Now, I'm sure driving along that road is an unforgettable experience, but could you imagine doing it behind the wheel of one of these things? I reckon it'd give you chills and thrills. Hualien Tunnel Road. It may be less than a mile long, but taking the trip down the death-defying Hualien Tunnel will feel like one of the longest drives of your life. This rocky tunnel was carved into China's Taihang Mountains back in the 1970s, after villagers from remote Hualien were refused government aid to build a road. Instead of living a life of solitude, they decided to carve the road out of the mountain themselves. With nothing more than hand tools, 13 of the villagers began steadily chipping away at the cliffside. Amazingly, over the course of 5 back-breaking years, they produced a 0.7-mile-long tunnel connecting their little village to the outside world. However, they only made it 16 feet tall and 13 feet wide, barely enough to fit 2 standard cars beside one another. Not only that, but the tunnel was built on the path of least resistance, meaning it dips, dives, and swerves unexpectedly. Terrifying as the road itself may be, the windows knocked through the mountainside offer an incredible view of the surrounding valley. But you can also take a heart-stopping look down, if you dare. The road through a building? The high-rise skyline of Osaka, Japan doesn't have many standout buildings, with the exception of one that, unbelievably, has a highway cut into it. Sacrificing its 5th, 6th, and 7th floors, the Gate Tower building allows the Hanshin Expressway to course through it, offering one of the strangest driving experiences in the world. This small section of roadway was channeled through the building following some pretty poor communication back in the 1980s. Redevelopments to the area and the extension to highway had both been agreed to separately, but their building layouts clashed with one another. Following a 5-year period of negotiations, along with some very innovative thinking, the go-ahead was given for the expressway to be built through the high-rise office building. It may look a little odd, but it's proved to be the perfect solution to what would have otherwise been architectural anarchy. So if you ever find yourself in Osaka, don't forget to stop by, or pass through. Salar de Uyuni. The central South American country of Bolivia is famous for its many breathtaking sights, but none are quite as spectacular as its otherworldly salt flats. Known as the Salar de Uyuni, this great white expanse is over 4,000 square miles in area and reaches as far as the eye can see. The huge salt crust formed many years ago after a large body of water in the basin completely evaporated. The only things it left behind were salts and minerals, which solidified in massive pockets along the old lake bed. But to really appreciate just how big they are, you need to drive out onto them. Though it's not technically a road, it is a major transport link across the Bolivian Altiplano, and an utterly stunning one at that. If the area experiences even brief rainfall, the white basins transform into giant mirrors, blending the sky and ground together seamlessly. Looks like heaven really is a place on earth. The Macron Coastal Highway. You'd think the most amazing feature of a road running alongside the Arabian Sea would be those incredible ocean views. But despite the astounding azure waves, the rock formations the road runs through steal the show. These staggering structures are part of the Macron Coastal Highway, also known as National Highway 10, that runs along most of Pakistan's southern shoreline. It's just over 400 miles of smooth asphalt paving that has been worked into the gigantic jutting rocks, made predominantly of limestone and sandstone, that litter the coastline. This range formed thanks to the area's tectonic activity, where the Indian and Eurasian plates that make up the Earth's crust have pushed together. Situated right underneath Pakistan's coast, the force of the plates colliding buckled upwards, producing the jagged ridges that now line this jaw-dropping road. Taken at the right angle and with a little help from a drone or two, a photo of this rocky road can look like it follows the mountains up into the sky. Man, if that were real, the view from up there would be out of this world. The Karakoram Highway. You might not think a road would be capable of holding the prestigious title of 8th Wonder of the World, but one look at the Karakoram Highway might just change your mind. As it winds through the rocky passes of Gilgit-Baltistan, this highway zigzags through some of the most amazing mountain scenes in the world. Extending over 800 miles, the road reaches a peak height of almost 15,500 feet above sea level, driving it into the heart of the Karakoram Mountains. These conical beauties eventually give way to more habitable sections of farmland and villages. Now, there's no denying that these aren't as impressive as the mountains, but through the twisted perspective of a drone shot, the highway can appear to make an impossible 90-degree turn up into the sky, along with all the scenery. Forget the 7 wonders of the world, this unreal road looks like the steep drop of an exhilarating roller coaster. The Highway to Heaven. Now, you may not be able to buy your way into heaven, but if you travel to Wyoming, USA, there's a chance you could just drive up to the pearly gates. Because it's here that you'll find this section of the Interstate 80 highway, which looks like it leads straight up into the heavens above. But, and I hate to break it to all you sinners out there, this is just an optical illusion. It can be viewed off the highway's turning to Fort Bridger, where the road begins to dip downwards. It's here that the driver's perceived horizon dips along with the highway, making the elevated section of the road at the other end seem much higher. Add in some clouds in the distance and roads like this are suddenly transformed into heaven-bound ramps. So it may not be real, but I'd like to think the top of this holy highway would have one hell of a view. Los Cartacoles. Snaking its way up through the heart of the Andes Mountains, this treacherous stretch of Route 60 in Chile was practically designed for motorists that love a challenge. It's known as Los Caracoles, which translates to the snails for those of us not fluent in Spanish. That's because it rises almost 8,000 feet up the mountainside through a staggering 29 hairpins and switchbacks. So unless you want to go careening off the edge, it's best to take these curves at a snail's pace. But that slow uphill slalom is definitely worth the gas, as the road takes you over Aconcagua, the highest peak in South America. With pinnacles like this, it's one undeniably tough drive. So if you fancy taking on Los Caracoles yourself, make sure you've got supreme skills, plenty of patience, and really good brakes. Yangwu Highway. China has many incredible roads, but there's one in the country's southern reaches that really makes a splash. This section of the Yangwu Highway spans 3 miles across the Poyang, China's largest freshwater lake. But it's so close to the waterline that it feels like you're riding over it in a boat rather than a car. Normally, this road is just high enough to separate the lake, cutting the water on either side into 2 different color tones. But as the water level of Poyang Lake rises with the rainfall, the road is slowly flooded. It gradually submerges a few feet underwater, but is still safe to cross, allowing motorists to glide over the lake guided by the bright red barriers. Eventually, seasonal downpours flood the road completely, but it reappears several months later when the weather gets warmer. So if you've ever dreamed of driving an amphibious supercar, a trip down this road might just be the next best thing. Passage du Gois. While the Yangwu Highway may disappear every few months, there's one road in France that disappears twice a day. This risky road connects the French mainland to the stunning island of Noirmoutier, but stretching out into the sea means that it floods with the tides on a bi-daily basis. When exposed, it provides an epic 2.5-mile drive across the French seabed. But the tides along this natural causeway rise rapidly, and if you don't hurry across, you could be submerged under 13 feet of thrashing waves. Though if you find yourself without a paddle, don't panic. There are raised outposts along the roads which will save you from getting swept away, though your car might not be so lucky. In any case, if you see the water start to creep over the tarmac, you're going to want to hit the gas. The Uyuni Aqueduct. If I ask you to imagine a bridge, I bet the first thing that comes to your mind is a road that passes over water. However, there's one bridge in Denmark that's the exact reverse. It's water that crosses over a road. Not only that, but it's been bizarrely built inside a lake. This uniquely engineered bridge, called the Uyuni Aqueduct, was constructed back in 2002 as part of the incredibly busy N302 motorway. Seeing that both the river and road were heavy with traffic, traditional builds like drawbridges and ferry crossings would have resulted in crippling congestion. So engineers created a 2,000-foot roadway under the lake, allowing highway traffic and boat passengers to travel across freely all hours of the day. What a clever design. The Øresund. Perched on the icy waters between Denmark and Sweden is a structure that's not a road, nor a bridge, or even a tunnel, but a god-tier combination of all 3. Known as the Øresund, this incredible international structure starts with a cable-stayed bridge that runs nearly 5 miles out into the ocean. Then, after taking in all that sea air, the bridge suddenly transitions into a road on an artificial island, which has been carved into a tunnel under the water. There it runs for another 2.5 miles, combining the best under and over water experiences. While the final result looks tremendous, why not just build a single bridge or tunnel all the way across? Well, the Danish engineers realized this crossing point shared its location with the Copenhagen airport and essential shipping lanes. So to avoid interfering with air and sea traffic, engineers designed the road bridge to duck underwater. You could say this solution allowed everything to flow freely. Surnical Viaduct. All along the western coast of Slovenia, great waves of rolling fog engulf the landscape as the cool sea winds meet the hot inland air. But as they coat the land in a misty blanket, one road peeks out above them, like an impossible trail through the clouds. This is the Surnical, Slovenia's longest and highest viaduct concealed along the region's awe-inspiring valleys. Sitting almost 330 feet above the valley bottom, the beginning of the highway is perched slightly higher than the rest of the road. This means drivers traveling across it are often met by a thick wall of fog that engulfs the entire road before their very eyes. It's an eerie sight to behold, not to mention utterly terrifying. I mean, would you be brave enough to drive blindly over a road that's higher than a 30-story building? Or would you make a very hasty U-turn? Let me know down in those comments. Hiroshima Ohashi Bridge. From afar and through the right camera lens, Japan's Hiroshima Ohashi Bridge looks so steep it's enough to fill even the most experienced drivers with dread. At almost 150 feet tall with an impossibly sharp gradient, it's a miracle to see cars rolling up and down it without careening into one another. But the incline of the bridge is much less terrifying up close. Even though it does have a steep gradient of 5.1 and 6.1% on either side, a telescopic lens compacts the length of the bridge's ascension, making it appear a lot steeper than it really is. The result, from far away, makes the bridge look more like a roller coaster than a road, though it would still be an absolute blast to drive on. Could you imagine getting stuck in a traffic jam at the top? Yikes. Huangzhuwan Flyover. At 21 stories high with 5 different levels and 20 highways, the Huangzhuwan Flyover has more in common with a labyrinth than any road you've ever seen before. This monster of a megastructure is an interchange from hell, connecting the area's airport and expressway to the sprawling city of Chongqing in China. But despite the concrete chaos, you can't deny that it's also thoroughly impressive. Reaching a gargantuan 236 feet in height, some of the roads run alongside the top floors of nearby high-rise buildings. That's plenty of height to give drivers, and those poor office workers, a real adrenaline rush. And though the height may seem to add to this navigational nightmare, it has turnaround points every half mile to correct any inevitable mistakes. All you have to do is look for the signs, keep to the speed limit, and make sure to never, ever look down. The 99 Bend Road. Snaking around the imposing Tiananmen Mountain in China is a road that's as amazing as it is deadly. Boasting a nerve-wracking 99 bends, this 6.8-mile white-knuckle ride of a road fits every hairpin turn and critical corner into a climb just over 3,600 feet. That's approximately one turn every 36 feet. While that might fill some drivers with dread, brutal bends like this are a drifter's dream. With incredible precision and nerves of steel, these drivers can conquer the 99 corners at breakneck speeds by oversteering. The back end of their vehicles then perilously swings round the corner while the driver maintains total control. Move over Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. It's time for the much cooler Fast and Furious Tiananmen Drift. Roller coaster roads. If you live in Oklahoma, you don't need to travel to a theme park to ride a roller coaster. Just head on over to County Road NS 366. Just north of the town of Wewoka, this stretch of road has some huge undulations that are big and steep enough to make drivers nauseous. But it's not the only roller coaster highway in the US. On the outskirts of Cincinnati, Ohio, one daredevil found a roller coaster road with such steep hills, he and his buddies set up a street luge race down it. With nothing but their helmets and boards, they tore up the road, hurtling down at astonishing 60-mile-per-hour speeds. Whoa, I'm surprised they were able to go that fast, considering that they must have been dragging those gigantic balls of steel behind them. Alright, everybody out. We've reached the end. But before you go, which of these roads do you want to take a drive on in real life? Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.